Hi there, I'm Peter Millard, another 10-minute workshop. This week, well, we're going to have a quick chat about the Festool System. That's coming up next. I've got a video series planned for in the new year with a working title, provisional title of What's the Fuss About Festool? Festool is one of those brands where people seem to lose their freaking minds about it. I don't know why, I just don't understand it, but on both sides of the fence, the haters and the fans, let's call them, people seem to lose all kind of rational thought. I don't understand it. They're just tools. Buy whatever you want, use whatever you want, but for some reason, Festool seems to rub people up the wrong way. I want to explore the whole sort of system approach towards Festool, and I've been struggling a little bit with where to start, to be honest, because by its definition, it's a system, so there are many, many moving parts, and little parts of the system are touched on every time you use the tools. And purely by chance, purely coincidentally, my YouTube pal and podcast partner, Andy Mack over at Gosforth Handyman, if you don't know Andy's channel, check it out, there's a link in the video description below. He did a video recently comparing a table saw to a track saw, and he's got the same track saw as me, the Festool TS55, and he's got a DeWalt site saw, table saw. And his videos were sort of basically around the length of time it took him to make a cut with the table saw versus the track saw. And I was quite surprised how long the track saw took him. And it was almost the perfect illustration of the Festool system, or rather the anti-system. What happens if you buy just the saw and the rail without the rest of the system to support it? And I thought I'd repeat that test, not with the table saw, just with the track saw cut, and just to see how long it took me, because I am very much all set up for the Festool system, and I don't really use a table saw very much, and I use about 50-50 on the track saw and table saw. So I just thought I'd repeat that test and see where we got to. Okay, so I'm going to repeat the rip cut that Andy Mack did. It's 1220 length. I think his was 380 wide. I'm going to do one at 300 because that's the only size board I've got. All these MDF offcuts, and I haven't got one the right size. Shocker. I noticed in Andy's comments a couple of people were saying, if you had an MFT, it would be completely different. The maximum with the cut on an MFT is about 650, 680 mil, something like that. Even on this one, where I've pushed the fence back a little bit, it's only about 700, 710, something like that. So it wouldn't make any difference. So we'll put boards down just like we would normally. And I'm going to start a timer. Stopwatch starts now, and then we'll get going and see how long this cut takes. Now, I deliberately haven't changed any of my working practices for this video, and I'm specifically not rushing. So I'm fetching my cutting boards from the other room and putting them down to protect the bench tops. Then I can bring in the workpiece and the rail, measuring out 300 mil with the tape. 300. Setting the rail down accurately. Pulling the saw out from under the bench and hooking up the power and hose. Checking the depth setting and making the cut. Then putting everything back into place before calling it a day. 2 minutes and 9 seconds. So yeah, less than half the time. Stop. Less than half the time that Andy took to make that single cut. And why is that? It's because of the Festool system, at least on the hose and power cable side. Now, one of the reasons why Andy took so long to make his cut was that he was futzing around for a while trying to get his extractor hose to adapt to the hose that he had connected to his saw, whereas if he'd have gone for a Festool extractor, he would have had all that ready to go, because every Festool extractor comes with this. This is a D27 27mm diameter hose with a rubber end to it, so it's a little bit squishy, so it's easy to deform. Every Festool extractor also comes with a power takeoff, so it auto starts when it feels draw on the cable, and there's a removable or plug-it cord which fits the vast majority of the handheld power tools that Festool makes. But what does that mean in practice? Well, in practice it means that under my bench here I can have a big old CTL22 Festool extractor with a cord permanently plugged into it and the hose running all the way around to the bench here, which means that at the bench I've got dust collection and power that'll work with my saw. But it's not just the saw, of course, because the Festool D27 hose and the plug-it connector are common across the vast majority of Festool tools. It means that this hose and this cable will fit the tool you're using, whether you're sanding, sawing, using a router, or using your domino. Sometimes, like with the saw, the hose fits inside the coupling. Sometimes, like with the sanders, it fits over. And sometimes, like with the routers, you have to squish it around a bit to fit over the funny oval shape, and that's where the benefit of a rubber end comes into its own. The plug-it cable, though, is common across all these tools, so a simple push and twist and you've got power and dust collection at every tool you're going to use, provided you're using a Festool tool. Now, all this convenience, all this compatibility doesn't happen by accident. It happens because a bunch of talented engineers have got together, thought about the problem and come up with a solution to it. And if all this convenience isn't for you, then that's fine. I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm not trying to convince you to buy anything, which is just as well because I'm a really bad salesman. Obviously, though, Festool is a business and they are in the business of selling things, so naturally they use a proprietary connector, not a 3-pin kettle lead. I know some folks get really uptight about this, but think about it. How many sanders, say, have you owned that have some kind of proprietary oddball rectangular dust port on the back? I know I've had more than a few. In business terms, this is classic moat building from Festool around their products, building a defensive moat. And of course, compatible power cord and dust hose is barely scratching the surface of Festool's systematic approach to tool interoperability. And as Andy Max demonstrated, these tools work perfectly well in isolation, but as I hope I've explained here today, they work extremely well together. And if you have the saw and the extractor and you're in the market for, say, a sander, then you're likely to at least want to take a look at the sanders that use the same hose and power cord as the tools you already have. But that's it for this video. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget that the best way not to miss one of my videos is to subscribe to the channel. And if you do subscribe, don't forget to hit that bell. Then you'll be notified whenever I put up something new or whenever YouTube decides to, because it's a bit flaky, to be perfectly honest. But that's it for this week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.